I think we were drunk. I think we were hungover.
All right, we are live on the Facebooks and the YouTubes, guys. So, Freedom Path Investors podcast number 6.
6.
And we have one of our favorites today, Mr. Bryan Schroeder.
Do you say that to everybody?
No, genuinely, you are number one favorite.
We like everyone else though that was on. I mean, but you're like everyone's here, then you're just like right there.
So we're trying something a little different today with the live. So I hope it all works out. But wanted to get more people on because you bring a ton of value, sir, and we are very grateful you did this. We consider you one of our mentors, and we're really happy you're here today. So, Bryan, you want to give us a quick, quick short, how you got into real estate, how you got to where you are now?
Wow, that's like, that's a whole freaking podcast there. Right. Yeah. But I'll make it
concise.
I'll make it sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know about short, but I'll make it sweet. And first of all, thanks for letting me do this with you guys. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I love the Freedom Path office here, man.
Thanks, man.
And I like your name. I am a lover of freedom.
Yeah.
I got 2 guiding principles in my life. One is happy. I do things that make me happy. If it doesn't make me happy, I don't do it. And then the second thing is this creating more freedom in my life? So I like Freedom Path. That's freaking awesome. Those are 2 guiding principles that I have for my life.
We're unapologetic patriots.
Yeah. There you go. I love it. Me too.
Yep. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. So
absolutely, you're gonna enjoy it. So the story. So
you've been in the game. What? I kept saying 20 years. Is that right?
Well, I started Fast House in 2002. Okay. So 18 years Fast House has been around. So prior to that, I grew up on a farm in Iowa. I went to Iowa State University. When you go to the college, they always ask you, what do you want to do for your career? And you got to pick something. Yeah. So I picked, my counselor or whatever asked you, well, what are you good at? And I always was good at math and science and stuff. So they put me in the engineering curriculum. And so I became an aerospace engineer. I like engineering, the strategy behind it and stuff, but I hated sitting in a freaking cube. That's what brought me to St. Louis. I came down here to work for McDonnell Douglas. Right. And I honestly thought I was going to be in St. Louis for 6 months or a year. Wasn't my goal in life to move to St. Louis.
What's wrong with St. Louis, man?
I've actually fallen in love with St. Louis. Yeah. I love it now. But when I was Iowa farm boy, I wanted to go to Dallas or Houston or Atlanta or something like that. Yeah. I ended up in St. Louis, but I love it in St. Louis. I am not going to move. This is my home. It's been my home for 30 years now. But I started at McDonnell Douglas. I got myself a little 8x8 cube in this big room with like 100 people that had 8x8 cubes. Mm-hmm. And the few years that I was at McDonnell Douglas was right after, in the 80s, Reagan had the big defense buildup. And then I started in the 90s. So it was always price cutting. They were always cutting jobs and stuff. I don't know how I got in when everybody else was getting laid off, but I did. And it was just weird times. I worked from 7:18 to 3:48 with a half hour for lunch. Kind of felt like freaking high school or something, Yeah. So there was no freedom in that for me. I lasted for 3 years.
Seems like a long time though, considering that you like your freedom and happiness and all that stuff.
Absolutely. I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't feel like I had any freedom. But I didn't know what else to do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of somewhere along the lines, all this kind of happened about the same time, but I used to occasionally see that infomercial late at night, and Carlton Sheets was big back in the day. You guys familiar with Carlton Sheets?
He was one of the original gurus.
He was, absolutely.
I'm not familiar with Carlton Sheets, but
Carlton Sheets was big in the 90s.
Okay.
I don't know how long he's been gone, but it's been a long time. I don't know about gone. I don't know if he's still alive, but he hasn't been on the real estate circuit for a long time.
Sure.
But I got his course, kind of got me hooked a little bit, learned a little bit about, the basics about what to do and stuff. And I bought my first house. It kind of came weird. I had a friend that had a neighbor that was losing their house to foreclosure. And their lender, which was Washington Mutual, told the person to find a buyer for his house. Which is not the normal way that a short sale happens, but it's kind of the way it happened in my case. So the seller knew his neighbor. His name was Mike, and Mike was a friend of mine. And Mike knew I was looking for us, thinking. We see houses that are trash that people are living in. Walk through it. The guy had like 13 cats or something like that. So it just smelled with cat piss and stuff like that. We've been in houses like that.
Smells like money.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I told him, yeah, I'd love to buy the house. I was looking for a rehab. So we contacted his contact at Washington Mutual. Mm-hmm. And that person kind of walked us through the process, told me to make an offer. So I made an offer. And to this day, I remember the offer I made. I made an offer for $54,000. Wow. This is 1993.
That's a lot of money.
Wasn't that much money. So I made an offer for $54,000. Then I don't know if you guys have done short sales, but they sent out a BPO. BPO does this thing.
Nothing short about the short sale, right?
Yeah, actually, this was 1993. We went through the whole thing in like 30 to 45 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was really fairly easy. They sent out a BPO. The contact at Washington Mutual called me up, said, I can't do $54,000, but here I got to be in this range. You got to be between 60 and 68,000. So, and that's his exact words. I remember that so clearly to this day. So I said, just so I want to understand, if I send you an offer today, if I amend our offer to 68,000, you'll take it? And he said, absolutely. And I said, if I amend our offer to 60,000, you'll take it. He said, absolutely.
I'm going with 60, bro.
That's how easy short sales were back in 1993.
Wow.
It's not like that today. But anyway, I bought that house. I moved into it, lived there for almost 2 years. And I think it was actually just a little over 2 years because it was a personal residence. So I didn't have to pay taxes on it. So, but anyway, bought it for 60. I think I put like 20 grand into it, and I lived in it. Yeah. And then I sold it for 117, and that's what got me hooked.
Call it house hacking these days.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
House hacking, and I made good money on it. I loved the process. I loved the excitement of it. So I was still in McDonnell Douglas at the time. So I decided I got to get out. I got to get in the real estate gig. But real estate appraiser. And that I did that for actually 8 years. I really enjoyed being an appraiser, but my goal with that was to become a full-time real estate investor. So during that 8 years, I flipped some houses on the side, and I actually had a couple rentals and stuff. But that was it. 2002, I went full-time.
Awesome.
Well, being an appraiser for 8 years, that really set you up for running comps and knowing values like the back of your hand, I'm sure.
It did.
Yeah.
I love that.
Did it ever lend itself any opportunities to find deals through that job? Or?
I used to get asked that a lot. I haven't been asked that question for a long time, but I don't really think I got any opportunities. You would think you would get opportunities that way, and I never really did.
I'd be giving really low appraisals so I could buy the house.
If Brian Johnson ever becomes an appraisal, do not turn him away if he shows up to your house. Real quick, actually, I want to back up to the Carlton Sheets story there, because you went from Iowa boy to engineering and all that McDonnell Douglas. That's a huge switch in your career path. How much fighting with your family did you have to deal with doing that? It's a huge mindset difference there.
Yeah, so not too much. I grew up, my dad was entrepreneurial, so he kind of understood, although he was, I don't know, I'm going to say they were proud of me for having an engineering degree, and they thought it was kind of strange to leave what they perceived to be my mom and dad perceived to be a good job, working for a defense contractor as an engineer.
Good steady paycheck, good benefits.
Yes, exactly.
9 to 5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to go out and become a real estate appraiser. Who wants to be a real estate appraiser? What kind of, but my parents were pretty supportive, although I didn't really, honestly, I'm a lover of freedom and I'm a lover of happiness. I do whatever I want to do. I've never been one of those people that wanted to make other people happy, especially people that are trying to live their life through my, you know, I'm not saying that very well, but live their
vicariously.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do my own thing.
I like it.
You're lone wolf, Bryan Schroeder.
I don't know about that.
So when you got the idea to become an appraiser, were you just looking for a way to get into the real estate game full time, and you thought that would be good?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I was, you know, the pain and pleasure thing. I was running away from the pain of sitting in a freaking cubicle. And real estate appraising actually had a lot of freedom.
To be somewhere different every day,
Yep.
meet different people. Absolutely.
Yeah, what I loved about appraising, and it's similar in investing, is I you know, you go out and look at, when I was an appraiser, I tried to look at 2 houses a day, write up 2 reports, you know, and we got paid $275 per deal back then. And I got like 40% of it because I was working for another guy.
Okay.
His name's John LeGrand. Awesome dude. Loved the time I spent with John. But so I don't know what 40% of 275 is, but that's what I made for every appraisal I did, and I did 2 a day. That was kind of my goal.
Not a bad gig. You
It wasn't.
2 every day every week, and it's
Yeah.
pretty good money.
And my mornings was typically going out, looking at the 2 houses. You know, I try to set those up in the morning. Then I go in the office in the afternoon and write up my 2 reports.
Yeah.
And that was the way I like to do it. I'd get 2 in, get them written up that day, out, and do the next 2 the next day. And that was a nice lifestyle.
But it wasn't the lifestyle you wanted,
Well,
ultimately.
true.
So you got into your own business, Faster House, and all that. So where did that kind of come into play?
Well, I think a lot of people, just like you guys, a lot of people start by wanting to have a partner. And I think it actually took having a partner for me to have the courage to go out on my own.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all, but I was a little afraid to do it on my own. But one day, my friend Jim Stigermeyer and we went to breakfast at Gingham's, and he had worked for Boeing for McDonnell Douglas for a while, and so had I, and we had kind of known each other. We both had a little bit of an interest in real estate investing,
Sure.
And we were both doing it on the side, so we had that as a common interest. And we would grab breakfast, you know, once every month or once every other month, something like that. And one day we went to breakfast. When I was going to breakfast that morning, I had no idea. I didn't have any intentions or anything. And by the time we left Gingham's that day, we had started our business. So it was just that day, you know, it's just one of those, you guys ever had that magical time where you just make a decision and that's, you know.
Yeah, kind of when we went out on our own, we were like, all right, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how life is? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you just make a kind of a life-altering decision just kind of on a whim. And I got to describe that's the way it was for me because I had no intentions that day of starting our business. And just the way the conversation went that day, we both quit cold turkey within a week or 2 of that day.
Wow.
And I actually had 5 kids. Our youngest was 1 month old when we did it. But it was just felt like
You got a set of brass balls, Brian. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if that's appropriate to be on Facebook Live, but 5 kids, geez.
Yeah.
So this was 2002 when you went out on your own and started Faster House. And early on, we'll talk a little about your guys' model right now, what you're focusing on, but you were doing a lot of rehab and flips back then, right?
Yeah, Jim and I had a very simple plan when we both decided to go out on our own. And I think it's a great plan for a lot of people. Our plan was to buy a house, rehab it, and resell it. And our goal was to do 1 or 2 of those a month. And that's the money that we lived on. And then we wanted to build up a portfolio of rentals on the side. And that was just for down the road income, you know, and creating wealth type of thing. So it was a very simple plan. We started in November 2002. I would say neither one of us were wealthy by any means, but I would say I might have had 4 or 5 or 6 months worth of savings.
Yeah.
That was it. And I think Jim maybe had a little bit more than that. He was a little older than me, but we just wanted to go out and do it on our own. So first house we bought was on 3rd Street, which probably isn't.
Oh, really?
It's probably not like 5 blocks from where we're sitting right now. Yeah.
Wow.
That was our first house. So we bought it off the MLS because I was so, compared to the knowledge we have today, I didn't know shit. You know, our first several houses we bought off the MLS because I didn't know any better. I wasn't near as educated as you guys are, or obviously we are today. But bought it off the MLS. Jim and I spent day and night there, fixed it up, and I think I listed. I can't remember if I listed or Jim listed it because we were both had our licenses. I did because I was a real estate appraiser, and Jim just kind of did it on the side. So anyway, that was our first deal. We bought another one, a second house, kind of like a week into the project. We said, "Gosh, we are not very good at rehabbing."
As you're like, all your nails are bruised and cut it up.
So I called a friend of mine. It's actually Don Meyer, Meyer Real Estate up the street here, if you guys know him. He gave me a referral for a rehab guy. His name was John Simcoe, and John was our primary general contractor for like the next 6 or 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I kind of took over the role of finding the deals. Jim kind of took over the role of managing the rehab. Jim's wife, Claire, became a real estate agent, and my wife did the bookkeeping. So that was our team for the first couple years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it was actually a great team. Worked out really well. Jim and I used to call it 2 men in a truck because Jim and I would drive around in his truck. We'd go look at a bunch of houses. I'd go make offers on them. And then once we got something on a contract, we liked to do the demo. We did the demo for probably the first 5 or 6 years that we were doing this.
Really that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Take a hammer and go wreck some stuff.
We did.
Yeah.
We'd haul the trash. We'd go to the dump all the time and stuff. Anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed doing it.
I was gonna say,
Hang out with your buddy. And,
with five kids at the house, screaming and yelling, sometimes breaking things. It's just what the doctor ordered.
Absolutely. And we'd bring them along sometimes. They didn't really like it, but all in trash or whatever it was. But anyway, that was the beginning. And then we started buying rentals. We bought our first rental in February 2004.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of break my career up into different segments. From when we started in 2002 till about the end of 2006, was just kind of a quick growth mode as far as we were fairly small, but the market was good because I don't know if you guys know the history, but the market, everybody talks about 2008, but the market really kind of peaked at the end of 2006. Okay. And then it kind of plateaued for a couple of years, and then there was a downturn. So it was fairly easy to buy a house, rehab, and resell it in 2002 to 2006. But there at 2006, 2007, there was this transition because it's kind of like the market is now. If you bought it and you bought it right, you fixed it up well, they sold quick in 2002 to 2006. Mm-hmm. So then there's
the inventory starting to tighten up, and you couldn't just pick them off the MLS as easy as you were, or
towards I can't remember exactly, but I would say roughly 2004 or 5, we started doing the direct-to-seller marketing. The primarily direct mail at the time, driving for dollars. We started a website. We were actually in the Yellow Pages. I guess probably don't remember that today.
We remember. Not that young, Brian.
But yeah, we used to have an ad in the Yellow Page, full page ad, Faster House, and it worked back in the day.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure it did.
If you're the one got a full page ad in the book, when that's how everybody found out information back then before the internet.
I want to say the only competition you probably had was ugly houses.
Yeah, well, there's a big company called Bellington Real Estate.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys familiar with Bellington?
No.
Bellington was the big dog on the block. They had a great company. Actually, the company we currently have at Faster House, I've modeled a lot after what they were back in the day. Okay. They actually, believe it or not, they went out of business 2008, 9, 10 time frame. The dude that ran the company, and they had some great guys there. I've had a few of them work for us over time, and there's a lot of them still around. They're acquisitions guys.
Yeah.
But the owner, his name was Mike Litz. He was a little bit of a, I don't know, he's a partier. He was a spender. Every dollar he made, he would spend it. He had yachts. He had multiple homes. He had a big house down in Ladue.
Yeah.
So when the downturn came, it took him under. Yeah,
wow.
It was a bummer. I saw a lot of people go under in 2008, 9, 10.
How did that affect how you structure your daily life and your daily expenses and stuff like that? Because you don't live flashy whatsoever. Though I think you could probably have a little bit more flash if you wanted to. You probably could. It's my guess, yeah.
I always say you're like the millionaire next door. I mean, kind of unassuming, but, you've got this huge real estate business,
Yeah.
So those guys that were buying the yachts and everything, they went under.
Yeah.
So
Litz was a spender. He was a big spender.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Personally, Litz had a big ego, and there was a time that I had an ego too, and we all have an ego to a certain extent.
Yes.
But we were talking about it a little bit this morning. I spent a lot of time with a mentor of mine, T. Harbecker. So he's not around anymore. I say he's not around. He's still alive. He's just not out teaching and coaching and stuff. But I learned a lot from that dude. And one of the things that I learned was to be humble, because you just never know. Living through those that 2008 to 10 time frame, I saw a lot of people struggle. I saw a lot of good people go bankrupt. I saw good people kill themselves because their identity was wrapped up in making money and having things and stuff. And when it went away, they couldn't take it.
Yeah, they lost their identity. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
We're getting there to where we're at today. It's kind of seeing some similarities here.
Yeah.
We'll get into it a little bit. So we got up to 06, your growth mode. You guys were doing these flips. You got your team all settled in.
Yeah.
And you started buying. So you bought your first rental in 04?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We bought, I don't know, I'm going to guess maybe 5 or 6 rentals in 04. We probably bought another 10 or 12 in 05, maybe another 20 in 06. So when it started, the market started to turn, I think we had about 40 rentals, give or take. I can't remember exactly.
So your original plan was to just keep flipping properties. At what point were you decided the rental game sounded pretty good to you guys?
Well, we wanted to buy rentals from the very beginning. Our original game plan was to flip a couple houses a month to live on and build a portfolio of rentals. We kept the flipping business going. As a matter of fact, I don't know, in 2006, we might have done 50 or 60, something like that, flips, give or take. And like I said, I think we had around 40 rentals. And then the market plateaued for like a year. 2007 was like a plateau year.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody that was used to, you list a house that's sold that weekend or the next week or something, kind of like today.
Yeah.
It turned into where you list a house, you might sit on it for 2, 3, 4, 5 months.
Oh, wow.
So your holding costs are building up, and you're
Yep.
starting to feel the crunch, like you're not making as much profit, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the people that were buying super tight, by the end of 2007, they were out of business. But it took a little while. 2008, 9, and 10 is what really drove people out of business big time. But 2007 was getting rid of all the fluff. All the people that are out there that the 2 men in the truck, like I was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Or the kind of the guys that they're just living paycheck to paycheck. But if anything goes wrong, they're overpaying. Those people went out of they lost a little money in 2007.
They're the first ones to go.
First ones to go. That's
Yeah.
the way to say it.
Yeah.
So this is a good point to bring it up because there's an inevitable market crash coming. Maybe we already had it earlier in the year, but I think that was kind of a bubble burst, and the big one's really coming still. So 08 was huge.
Yeah.
We're up to that point in your timeline here. So how did you guys? What would you say was the factor that made you survive that downturn?
More than anything was just having the mindset to not quit. And so when you go out of business, I'll tell you the day that everybody goes out of business, when they have $0 in their bank account and they can't pay a mortgage or pay a contractor or whatever.
Yep.
So the game is to don't ever get to that point. Jim and we did whatever it took. And in part because I knew prices couldn't go down forever. I knew that would turn back up at some point. So I always try to separate our flipping business from our rental business. Our flipping business, we had a tough period of time there for a little bit until everybody got out of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could start buying at bigger discounts.
Yeah.
So you couldn't sell it as easy, but you could buy it at so much cheaper that you could still make money in the flipping business.
Mm-hmm.
So there was really only about a 6-month period of time when values peaked and kind of plateaued and maybe even started going down a little bit, where most other people got out of the business, and we could just buy houses really deep. So the flipping business, it didn't take that long where we could still keep making money in the flipping business.
There's some optimism in that story for what's going on in the future here.
Yeah.
Right. Like for those of us who can stay, hopefully those of us who can stay in the business, in the real estate business, we can still make money.
Yes.
There's always, we just shift the margins,
yes,
right? And where your offers are. So
I remember in 08, like seeing on TV, just they're showing neighborhood yard signs everywhere, people selling. And all these flippers that were overextended and high price ranges, they probably got wiped out because they're, by the time the things settle down, they probably couldn't sell it at what they planned for, taking losses. Are those the people you saw get wiped out of the business mostly? Or
I mean, the people that stayed in the business are the ones, number one, they didn't give up, and number two, they didn't run out of money. And running out of money means having enough money in your checking account to pay the bills, whether that's what you're living on personally or to pay your contractors, to pay your mortgages, whatever it is. And the second part of it is you got to be able to keep your lenders confident enough to keep lending to you. And a lot of people, their financing dried up, as in if they were using banks, their bank wouldn't lend to them anymore, or if they were using private lenders, their private lenders got scared. So what Jim and I did do really well is we communicated really well with our lenders, and they never stopped lending to us. That was a differentiator for us. I think we did a really good job of that.
So when you talk about communicating with your lenders, you're just being honest with them what's going on, right?
Yep.
So not holding anything back, not putting fluff in it. You're just like, hey, here's where I'm at. Like, I'll try to get the check in the mail next week for sure, but you'll get your money.
I will get the check.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. Thank you for qualifying that. But so that's the message that you're saying to them, right?
Yeah, you don't sugarcoat it because they know what's going on.
Yeah.
But you also got to present confidence that you are going to be able to get through this, and you're going to be able to pay them back. So, that's one thing that I think Jim and I did a really good job of, is just projecting that confidence. We, internally in my head, I definitely wavered whether or not we are going to get through it for a little while. That's one of the things that Harbecker helped me with, is he helped me to keep that positive attitude and that never give up attitude. Because there was, values went down from late 2006 to 2012. That's 6 years. It's a long freaking time.
It's like an eternity.
Yes. And I don't foresee that happening anytime in the near future. But that's what happened. And
if you didn't have the rental portfolio you did at that time in 08, could you have survived, you think?
Well, and a lot of people ask me that. And unfortunately, I didn't build my rental portfolio smartly. So I really try to, with people that I'm talking to or coaching or working with in our masterminds, I try to really harp on them to make sure that every deal cash flows. Yeah. Because when I started building my rental portfolio, this was my thought process. Jim and I needed 1 or 2 houses a month to buy, rehab, and resell to live on. Anything else we bought, we kept it as a rental. Yeah. And that was my qualifying criteria, which is horrible. You got to look at houses way better than that.
Well, it's simple though, right? A little too simple, maybe?
Way too simple.
I've heard you say this before. You said if it was a deal, I bought it.
Yes, that's right.
That's
right. So I was a deal junkie. I love deals. and like I said, if it was a deal, I bought it. And so I can remember a house out in Lake St. Louis that was in today's world, it's probably a $500,000 house that I kept as a rental back then.
Whoa.
I know, that's stupid, isn't it? It didn't cash flow.
Negative cash
flow? For sure. For sure it was negative. But it's easy to get in the mindset when values are going up. I became a real estate appraiser in 1994. And I saw values just kept going up all the way to 2006. Everything I could remember was values going up. And for people that have gotten into business in the last 8 years, that's all they've seen is values going up. And you get to the point where you say, gosh, it's so easy to make money. All you have to do is buy a house and own it for a couple of years, and I'm going to make 20, 30 grand just by it going up in value. And that's what was happening in that early 2000s. So I clearly remember one day I was looking at I'm kind of a little bit of a spreadsheets guy. That's my engineering background.
No.
I was looking at how much money I made one year from all of our flips, and then I looked at how much money I made just from owning our portfolio of rentals and how much it went up. And I made more money on just the appreciation. I thought, holy shit, I just need more houses to appreciate. That was my mindset. It's not the right mindset.
No.
Anyway, you guys are doing so much better than me. But my rental portfolio was a drag on my business. If I didn't have the rental portfolio, because I didn't set it up right. If you set it up right, it can be great. But I didn't. But because we were always good at flipping. We could buy houses at good prices, and we could sell them and make money. And our flipping business kept us afloat to pay the negative carry on our rentals there for a few years.
Okay. Wow.
Which, and it's weird to say that, but in 2008, 9, 10, 11, we had a great time in our flipping business because there was no competition.
Yeah.
It was so easy to find good deals, and you could buy them at big discounts.
The foreclosure boom was easy pickings.
It was.
When I first started getting into the business, I was still buying houses off the MLS when I was a buyer for another company. And it dried up overnight in like 2017, 18, around there.
Yeah.
We had to totally shift. But anyway, I digress. So we're into the Obama years now, into the 2010s.
Okay.
How did your business start to evolve after you kind of got out of that market crash and then build it back up? You made it through there. How did you kind of evolve over the next few years of that decade?
Well, somewhere around the 2010, so where you were saying there, it was honestly the best time ever for a real estate investor to buy deals. And one of the things that I did is I doubled down on our rental portfolio, and it's what
I was gonna ask that from the long game perspective. Was it the best time, or was it the best time for the fix and flipping business?
the long game.
The long game.
The long game. It was good for the fix and flip business, but the long game from 2010 to 2013, the deals that I bought in those years, those things have doubled. You know, so just imagine. I probably bought from 2000, and I'm just going to guess here, but from 2010 to 2012, 13, I probably bought 60 or 70 houses that are probably, and I'm just guessing here off the top of my head. Those houses were probably worth about $5 million, and they've doubled. That's
crazy.
$5 million right there.
Yeah.
Just in
when I first got into property management, there was a big buyer, one of our clients, Scott Krusmark. I think you know who he is.
Yep.
And his criteria still in 2017 was all in at $65K on a house in Florissant.
Okay.
And these are properties now worth 125, 130 easily.
Easy.
So he's got a multitude of properties of like 500.
Yeah.
Just with 50% of, at least. So
those deals are pretty hard to come by these days.
It's so different. And from, I don't know, it's interesting once you've been in this business for a while, it's kind of hard to keep, it's mentally hard for me to buy a good rental these days because I can remember what we were buying them 4, 5, 6 years ago. But anyway, you can't do that. You got to just keep doing what you're doing.
Evolving with the times.
Yeah. Yep.
So that kind of brings us up to where we're at now.
Well, where you're at now, you've built a huge business with Faster House. You guys have how many employees now?
27.
And so you've done hundreds of deals, flips, rentals. I got to imagine early on, the excitement of the deal was huge for you.
Yeah,
it was. Did that start to wane over the years?
It did. So I loved the flipping business. I loved chasing the deal. I was an adrenaline junkie. But after a while, it kind of turns into a grind. If you, at least it did for me. I'm not saying for anybody else, but for me, it kind of turned into a grind. So I seriously, and in 2013, I bought my business partner Jim out because he wanted to keep his life fairly simple, and I kind of had this vision of building this bigger thing that we have today. And I'm a personal growth type person, and the business for me has made me grow as a person. And that's the journey that I've taken over the last 6 years probably, is taken what was our small company and basically me being, I don't know, I hate to use this word, but I'll say the word boss because that's kind of what I was at the time. Sure. Everything kind of ran through me. And there's a little bit of an ego trip in that, where you're the one making all the decisions and you're the boss or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the way to grow a team. And I realized that, and then I kind of went on a personal growth period where I tried to really focus on, number one, how can I create more freedom in life? Because I kind of, when I left McDonnell Douglas, I was looking for freedom, which I got. And then I created this thing that wasn't very free because I had a great business. I was making a lot of money, but I had no time because all the decisions went through me. And so I challenged myself to grow as a person, to bring in other leaders, to grow my team professionally and personally, to be leaders, and not have, and part of that is putting together processes and systems so you can have a company that way. The way I had it run for a while is I was making all the decisions and everybody else was basically my helper, and that's not the way to build a business. But that's the way I did it for a while until I realized I needed to grow personally and set my business up like a business and put in processes and procedures in place and grow people into great leaders.
That's really astounding, because what I know about people and personalities and so forth, if you're a hard driver like that, it's really hard to let go of, Bryan, let's say, the vine all the time. It's really hard for those folks to let go. So the fact that you were able to make that mindset switch and say, hey, I'm going to develop leaders instead of trying to have my tentacles and everything, like that's very powerful that you did that. That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
And you guys have an amazing culture now. Like you said, everybody that works at Faster House has a definite abundance growth mindset. And to see, you brought in some people that are co-owners now. And they're our age, they're your age when you were starting out. And to see them grow into leaders, you're doing something amazing over there.
I appreciate it. I'm having a lot of fun, and I got, they're keeping me young, and I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing those guys grow, and I enjoy seeing what all of our team is doing. It's a lot of fun, and a lot of people ask me about taking on partners, because I've had partners in different. Because Jim and I partnered in the beginning, and I think I told you guys earlier. I partnered in part because I didn't have the courage to do it on my own, so I needed that guy as a partner. To lean on to a certain extent during tough times, but also to have somebody to talk to and have fun with,
Right.
Entrepreneurship can be a lonely business.
It can be, for sure, for sure.
I get it. I can relate.
But then after a while, we kind of started going in separate ways. And Jim and I are great friends to this day, but there was that period of time where I thought, I don't want to partner anymore,
Sure.
I want to do it my way, and he doesn't want to do it my way.
It worked out for everybody. You guys are still friends.
Yeah.
He's still in real estate, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it did work out. We split up in a good way, and where it was a win-win for everybody. And then I kind of ran it my own way for a little while. And then I got to the point where I and all the decisions were going through me, and I kind of lost my freedom. So part of creating partners again in my life was doing it in a way where I was creating more freedom in my life. It wasn't about
you weren't happy anymore either, probably.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
This business was running yourself.
Yeah, it was a grind.
Yeah.
I used to say that word a lot, and it's not a grind anymore.
I was actually talking to someone on the phone earlier today and about how you can love what you do, and then you get to a point where you can't grind anymore. You've reached maximum capacity on what you can do in a day, and you stop liking it because it's the acceleration of your life has plateaued. It's come to a halt. So
nobody gets into this business to just create another job for themselves. I see a lot of people do that, they get burned out. We all did this, most of us, to escape some other career or just to create a better life.
Well, what resonated with me when you said running away from pain, pleasure, right? I was running away from pain. You were running away from pain, that's for sure. And so, that really resonated with me when you said that.
Pain is a motivator.
It is. We're kind of running here on time a little bit. We really want to talk to you about the market today, and what people should be doing to prepare for everything going on.
Well, that's good. So we've the economy and real estate has cycles that go on. I've lived long enough to see some of those cycles, but the real estate cycle has been pretty much straight up since 2012. So we've had 8 really good years. almost 9, I feel like, but somewhere in that range. And that's, we don't know when the real estate cycle is going to end, but we know it's not in the beginning anymore. Using innings of baseball, we know we're not in the first inning. We're probably not in the third or fourth inning. I don't know if we're in the 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning.
We're in the extra innings.
We might be.
It's bonus baseball.
We might be.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. But and another thing that I was just talking to Cam earlier this morning, interest rates are so low right now. People are used to the rates being so low, but they're abnormally low.
Right. What were they when you started in 02? Do you remember?
Well, too, I think they're in the 7% range. When back in '93, I bought my first house in '93, late '90s. It was mostly around 8%. Prior to that, it was like, Jim bought his first house back in the '80s, and I think he paid like 14 or 16%.
Yeah.
Crazy numbers.
Yeah.
But historically, I think normal is in that 7 to 8% range. Mm-hmm. And, we're used to 4% now, 4 or 5%,
So, it seems like there's no better time to buy real estate. The money's so cheap, and as long as they're lending,
and keeping the interest rates down, because part of the value is based on the interest rate being low. As soon as they heighten the interest rate, the value is going to go down.
That's what I'm afraid is going to happen is at some point, rates are going to start going back up. Yeah. And I think when that happens, values are going to plateau for a little while. Now, there's also we got a lot going on. Right now there's a lot of people that aren't paying their mortgages because of this, COVID thing and mortgage forbearance. Those people are going to have to start paying their mortgages at some point. And is that going to cause, a little bit of a foreclosure crisis? I don't know. I think it might. I don't know. But one thing that I do think is going to go away is, for a good share of the last 6 months, houses have been selling 10,000 over list.
20,000 over
20,000 over list. I don't foresee that continuing. I think, we're going to go back to where houses sell at 95 or 97% of list rather than 110%. But anyway, how can people prepare? Number one, hopefully we've made some good money over the last couple of years. Hopefully you have some reserves to get you through, a challenging time because, and I want to encourage people that, especially if you're a flipper, stay with it. If you enjoy it, because it doesn't take long for everybody else to get out of the business, and more you can start buying lower again.
Well, I can see a lot of people are going to get washed out, like you said, the 2 minute in the truck types.
Yeah.
It's a weird time. When we got into it back in March, we had no pipeline. We buy most of our houses direct from seller. We had no pipeline.
Yeah.
So we had to fill it up quick. And we were getting told, don't invest in direct mail right now.
Well, actually, this was one of them. But we had no option. We had to keep going, and so that was a hard pill to swallow.
So I think one of the reasons it worked out for us early on, we made a heavy investment into it while other people were scaling back. So it kind of opened up the market share for us.
Mm-hmm.
But with the uncertainty of other newer investors, they don't know which direction to go in.
Yeah,
they might be analysis by paralysis mode.
Yeah,
or paralysis by analysis for a while. So
I would just say keep doing what you're doing, keep marketing as best you can, but have 6 months of reserves because that's about what it takes for the competition to start going away.
Okay.
And then you can there's always this margin in there because we have inefficient markets. We were talking about that before we went on the air, so there are people. There's always going to be motivated sellers. There's people out there right now that are not taking care of their house, and that house is going to need to be fixed up. There's people out there right now that are arguing with their husband or wife that are going to get a divorce. Yes. There's people right now out there that are losing their jobs that are going to need to. So there's always going to be houses to sell at a discount, but that discount will get deeper as soon as the market plateaus or starts going down. The competition will go away, and you'll be able to buy it deeper where you can still make money when you're selling it, not as at list price or over list, but at 95% or whatever you listed at. So for the flippers, that's what I would say. For the landlords, if you can lock in your rates as long as you can, that make sure every deal cash flows first of all, and then lock in your interest rate for as long as you can. Now, if you can do a 30-year fixed, that's awesome. If you got to use local banks, try to lock them in for 5 or 7 years, or even 10 years. Lucas and Sam got some locked in for 10 years recently.
Wow, that's
and it's not normal.
No.
But ask for 5 or 7 years. See if you can lock it in as long as you can,
all you gotta do is ask sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
When you start off, you said the BPO deal, your first deal. You
Yeah.
asked for 60 and they gave it to you.
Yeah, that was easy. But
We were at a national event a couple weeks ago with some nationwide investors, and the host basically said the greatest opportunity in our lifetime is going to be over the next 6 months.
Could
So
be.
you guys got to be ready. You got to be prepared.
So are you saying that from the perspective of you think deals, there's going to be opportunities in the next 6 months?
There's going to have to be a market correction. There's going to be a wave of these people. They're going to have to do something with their house because they lost their job, or foreclosures are going to start happening.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be a huge tsunami wave or there's just going to be more stuff happening.
well. I think there's going to be a market specific events happening. So the coast, higher home valued areas are probably going to have more of an impact, and then it'll probably just encroach into the Midwest slowly. I think that's kind of the trend, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And we're fortunate to live in St. Louis. I think I personally, I've never invested anywhere else, but I personally think St. Louis is a great area to invest in real estate.
I think a lot of people think that, don't you?
I do.
A lot of the virtual wholesaler has been trendy this year, and a lot of people are coming into our market just because the numbers look so good.
Yeah.
So St. Louis cash flows really well, but a lot of people like to virtually wholesale where people migrate. So a lot of people are moving to, everybody says people are moving to the South or red states right now. So a lot of other people are virtually wholesaling in those places as well. So
we'll let them virtually wholesale there.
Yeah, actually, exactly.
Stay out of our market.
Exactly.
But as far as the 6 month opportunity, I think everything we're talking about here, I mean, the interest rates are still so low, the money's so cheap.
Yeah.
If you know how to buy a deal at a discount, there's going to be more of those opportunities coming up here, it seems like. So
I think so. So let's keep buying.
Keep buying.
Just make sure you buy them smart. If you're going to keep it as a rental, make sure it cash flows.
Yeah.
Even, not only at today's rates, maybe even check it. What if rates went up to 6%? Does it still cash flow?
Right.
Hopefully rents will go up between now and then, so you got some extra there too. But just as a safety, maybe just check. What would my cash flow be if they were at 6% rather than 4 or 5?
This might be a novice question, but like over your time period, if you saw the market values dip, did you still see the rent demand keep up and rents still stay steady rising, or did they kind of fluctuate with the values?
No, rents, for the most part, have followed values. Now, the exception to that, and we're not going to run into that situation anytime soon, but in 2005 and 6, we couldn't find renters for renters were horrible, and it's because everybody that could fog a mirror could buy a house, so there was nobody renting.
Right. Fog a mirror, I love it. Basically, if they had a pulse, they could buy a house.
Yes. Right now, I feel like it's easy to find good renters, and I don't see that changing. What was one of the blessings of the downturn was there were all those people that were homeowners that probably shouldn't have been homeowners became renters again, and so we had more tenants, and that pushed up rents. It made it easier to find better renters, and so I just see that continuing.
Well, I think that's going to continue too, because I mean, another thing we learned at that event, somebody just mentioned, like, think about the first time home buyer that was like right there ready to make their first purchase, and then this COVID happened, and then they lost their job, or they had to take a pay cut, or got furloughed. They just got set back years.
They did.
So they're going to have to continue to keep renting.
I 100% agree with that.
I think the underlying message here is don't live paycheck to paycheck. Right. Avoid doing that.
Gotta have those reserves.
Yeah.
Or house to house even.
Yeah.
I mean, so early on in your career, you guys were like doing a deal a month.
Yeah.
It probably took a while to get that ball rolling because it takes several months to the process of buying and rehabbing and selling a house, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So how many rehabs did you guys have going at a single time? What was the peak, you think?
Well, the peak is right now.
That's good. We ever really talk about your current what Faster House looks like today. So good segue.
Well, we have 5 businesses now. We have our flipping business, which includes wholesaling and buying, rehab, and reselling.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do about 180 deals this year. Last month, we bought and sold 18 houses.
Wow. Dang, man.
And you know, I look at that. We did it easily. And that's not the way it used to be. You know, it used to, I don't know.
That'd be a grind.
Yeah, for sure. It would be a grind. But yeah, I mean, I'd say we did it easily because it seemed to me that it was fairly easy. And all of our acquisitions guys were doing well. Lori does contract for close. I know she was busy, but she just kept up with it. So we got our systems in place. So it's fairly easy right now. I think we're rehabbing about 4 houses a month right now,
Okay.
Something like that.
That's a little bit more than what you like to do, or
Yeah,
right
probably a little bit more than I prefer to do. But we've been cherry picking our rehabs. You know, when you got that many deals coming and going, you can cherry pick the rehabs. And we've been rehabbing houses that are like $20,000 rehabs in St. Peter's. That's pretty damn easy compared to like a $50,000 rehab in Overland or something like that.
Yeah.
You know. So it's not too difficult to do for a month when they're that kind of rehab.
Sure.
So touch on that for a minute, because you guys are very much, you have your buy box.
Yeah.
Very much the medium price range. Don't get into big, huge rehab projects in the city that take $100,000.
Yeah.
But you're still doing 18 deals last month.
Yes.
So to me, like, you're in a good niche, but if I was just novice and I didn't understand the market, I would think, well, aren't there meatier deals out there if you could get a higher price range and put more into it and have a higher profit, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like it's important for everybody to have a core focus. And our core focus for us, for our rehabs is, you know, the $30,000 and under rehab of a house that was built after 1960. So newer construction, you know, no knob and tube wiring or plaster walls, you know, those type of things. But if it's not that, and we try to do pretty much all of our rehabs are our list price is gonna be $300,000 or below. For the most part, between like $125,000 and $300,000. That's our sweet spot.
Sure.
Now, there's some people in town, you know, like Rob over at Core or Ryan down at Three Doors.
Yeah.
They have a different model that works for them. Like Rob, I know he does a lot of those $600,000, $800,000 houses, or Jan Duke, she does a lot of those $600,000, $800,000 houses, and they do great with it.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it just has never fit our style. I don't know why. We're just not good at it.
It's because you're fast turn and burn deals.
You're probably right about that. And we have in our office, we have a culture of landlords. We talk about that a lot. So we like to market to houses that could potentially be a rental, because for our flipping business, our first exit strategy is always, is there anybody on our team that wants this as a rental? Because that's part of our culture. We just want to help everybody on our team get more rental houses because that's what we love to do.
That's awesome.
So that kind of keeps us in that. That's kind of our niche too, is those, you know, I'm going to say $100,000 to $200,000 properties. You know, so by marketing for that, you're going to find those $250,000 or $300,000 houses and stuff. Yeah. And we occasionally buy a house down in the city that's a $100,000 rehab that's a $400,000 ARV. We're never going to rehab it ourselves, but that doesn't mean we won't buy it, wholesale it to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think we touched on all 5 of your business. You got the flipping business, the rental business, the coaching business.
One of my favorites.
Education business.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the education business. Yeah. Sam is a freaking TikTok rock star, isn't he?
I'm not even on TikTok. Maybe we need to get this video on there. So.
I have never been on TikTok either, but Sam comes into the office and he'll tell me, we had 1.6 million people watch that video last week. I just can't understand those numbers.
Yeah, I don't either. It's like, Sam, what do you even do for a living? How do you just play around on social media all day?
But I've been taking some of the sales calls just for fun, and the people that are on those, you know, and we're selling into what we call our live rental academy. We teach other people how to build a portfolio of rentals, and he's got TikTok videos out there on that. So people come through TikTok. They come into the
they want
sales
to talk to
funnel.
Sam.
Yeah, they do want to talk to Sam.
Like, who's this Bryan guy?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. But it cracks me up how many people, like just yesterday, I was talking to a police officer out in Pennsylvania. I think it was Philadelphia. And he was watching Sam's TikTok videos. That just is amazing to me.
Well, one of my best friends who's a cop, I know he's on his phone on the side of the road most of the time. So you're bored looking for stuff online.
That's funny.
We're big fans of the education program. Obviously, it's accounted for half of our business since we've been on our own. So
awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes. So education. What's the other two arms I'm missing?
Hard money lending.
Yes.
So we lend money to other rehabbers and landlords here in the St. Louis area. We enjoy doing that. It's a good profitable business, but it's also a great business where we feel like we're giving back to the community of what we are, rehabbers and landlords. We know that business well, so it's easy to be on the other side of it as a lender.
Yeah.
And then our traditional brokerage, Magnolia Real Estate. So, and I should say, Suzanne runs our lending business. She's freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. Sam runs our education business, the TikTok videos. Lucas is an awesome rock star at running our flipping business. He's a stud. And then Matt Becker runs our brokerage, Magnolia Real Estate.
And shout out to Shelly, not for
Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Oh, did she get it?
Yeah, she got it.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome, man.
She's a star. She's awesome. I love Shelly.
Yeah.
I forget. I think did I see that she sold $8 million in her first year?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's
isn't
insane.
it?
She wrote on her little Facebook post there, like, I thought that's just what everyone did.
Yeah. I saw that too.
Is that a joke or?
Everybody doesn't do that.
No,
first
no.
year. Holy smokes.
It's awesome stuff, Bryan. I mean, did you ever think when you're riding the truck, 2-minute truck back in the day, that it would evolve into something like this, or you just always had that vision?
Well, so Jim and I started this in 2002, and when Jim and I were riding around the truck, I did not have that vision. But somewhere along the line, when I was working with Harbecker and some other coaching and personal development stuff, I did develop this vision, and it was somewhere, I'm going to say somewhere in the 2008-ish timeframe. So it's taken a while to come to full fruition. And when I originally had the vision, I had the vision of the 5 different companies, but I didn't have the vision of creating partnerships with other great leaders and letting them run it. And then I just work on strategy and culture and helping grow them as leaders. That division came later, but the 5 different companies was back in about 2008. Because if you become, you guys ever read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell?
No, me too.
No.
So what he talks about, and this is a simple little strategy, but he says if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you're going to become an expert at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once you become an expert at something, one thing that you can do very easily is teach other people how to do that. And that's what our education business is all about. We became experts at flipping houses and being landlords.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to create an education business on that because you're an expert in it. The other thing, by becoming an expert at flipping houses and by being a landlord, I borrowed a lot of money from a lot of people. So I kind of knew how that game works. So it's easy to start that side business. And then if you're buying houses, rehabbing, and reselling them, you kind of get good at listing houses because you do it all the time. Right. So that's what this idea was all about. I mean,
they all complement each other.
They do. That's exactly right.
It's like 5 spokes to a wheel, right?
Absolutely.
You've built a business that serves you and provides you the freedom and the happiness that you always wanted.
Absolutely.
That's amazing, Bryan Schroeder. Some people never can let go of the vine, like I always say, and they would never get out of that CEO mode that you were in for a while.
Yeah.
And it would they probably would have driven you to a heart attack at an early age,
Yeah.
So what flipped the switch when you were like, I've gotta elevate people to help me out here?
Well, I think more than anything, there was one day that I figured out that I had enough money to live on the rest of my life. So it wasn't about the money anymore. When I started this business, it was about the money. I had to make enough money Like I had 4 kids.
5 kids?
Yeah, I had 5 kids. 4 of them were in private schools, and
that's all. Yeah, there's an immediate need for cash.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's what it was all about: is making enough money for the family to survive and to be comfortable. At some point, for me, it switched over to I realized I built a big portfolio of rentals, and they cash flowed well, and I realized, well, I got enough money to live on, but I wasn't 100% happy. So it became more on creating happiness for me. And I think anybody is this way if they really dig down inside themselves. How do you become happy? Is you help a lot of people. And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to help other people. I get more pleasure out of seeing Sam and Lucas do fantastic, or Suzanne or Matt or Shelly. That makes me happy. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And I know that's your genuine, heartfelt answer, because I asked you something similar at dinner last month, and that's what you told me. Just seeing the progression of these leaders that you're building, man. That's awesome stuff, man. 'Cause like you said, you don't have to do this anymore. You can be retired on a beach, sipping mojitos or whatever.
That doesn't sound very. It sounds fun, for 3 or 4 days, a couple times a year. But after that, what the hell are you going to do? That doesn't sound very fun to me. But
yeah, that's something we heard on the mastermind we were at in Florida. Like, there's only so many days you can stand on that beach before you're just like, I'm done. I got to go do something.
Yeah.
Your mind needs to keep moving.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we just hit the hour mark, but I did want to talk about the big elephant in the whole world right now, the U.S. election. How is this going to affect the real estate market, us personally? Just what's going on here, man? People are freaking out.
Yeah.
I saw you and Sam did a video about it yesterday, but for anybody watching, we kind of already talked about how to weather a downturn and a market crash, but how do you think this is all going to play out, man?
Well, I mean, the way it looks, I don't know what the date is today. Is it November 5th? 6th. So November 6th, it looks like more than likely Biden's going to be president. I guess there's potential for lawsuits out there that could potentially change that. But more than likely, Biden's going to be president. And sounds like the Senate's going to be very tightly Republican, maybe by 51-49 or something like that. Yeah. So, what that means is you got divided government.
And I saw the Democrats are trying to get Pelosi out as speaker now.
Well, that'd be awesome. Well, are we allowed to be political here? I don't know who they have to replace her with.
I think everybody understands we're real estate investors. They probably about, I guess, how we voted,
Yeah. But like, we're just trying to get at which way do we set our sail here? I guess is what we're trying to get at.
Well, and in the short term, I don't think presidential elections or even Congress elections really make big differences in the real estate market. Right. In the long term, they can, because they can affect the trajectory of interest rates or the trajectory of laws for landlords or,
regulations.
Regulations, that's a good way to say it. And obviously, I'm a lover of freedom, so I want fewer regulations. I do feel like there are some smart regulations, but there's 10 dumb ones for every smart one, and so forth. But I don't think the real estate market's going to be dramatically changed, whether it was Trump or Biden in the White House or whatever. In general, I think divided government is good because it doesn't. It keeps people from a lot of change happening.
And that's what
and markets don't like change.
Markets don't like change. Yeah.
Exactly. Say whatever you want about Trump. I think what people were scared about with Biden getting in is they've been talking about a lot of huge progressive radical changes.
Yeah.
They're talking about rent control, ideas about that. We don't want to lose the right to own private property, obviously.
Yeah.
So, like you said, even if Biden gets in, they're going to have a hard time moving these progressive bills through. Nothing's going to happen overnight.
Yep.
As far as Trump being in office, he scaled back a lot of the regulations that the Obama era put in place.
Yeah.
And the average American household income came up like $6,000, I think. Okay. So you see a lot more small businesses that were thriving, a lot that just got wiped out by COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm asking who's going to fix that? I mean, all these small business owners that just got put out.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2008, you saw all the bailout money.
Yeah.
Now we had the huge stimulus bill. Is there going to be another something like that to get Americans thriving again? You know.
Well, my prediction with Biden in and Republicans have just a slight majority in the Senate, there's going to be a lot more stimulus coming, and I would not be surprised at all within the next year or two if there isn't some kind of universal basic income where they're writing checks to everybody in the country once a month or something. And I mean, what that means is, I'll say it this way. My projection of what that means is higher inflation is coming, which it means higher interest rates are coming. Now, they might be 4 years away or 5 years away, but that is probably going to happen at some point.
So, because isn't the Fed locked into these low rates for the next couple of years?
Yeah, until 2023.
Yeah.
So I don't know a lot about, the markets and stuff like that, but I do know when you talk about universal basic income, you basically set $1,000 a month down to that becomes zero now.
Yep.
So
that's right.
So businesses have to make their margins.
Yep.
Unless you're in control how much a business can make, they're just going to set the price point higher.
Yeah.
So 1,000 doesn't really do anything. It just deflates the currency.
Yeah.
So the other part of that, the logical next step is that they have to have a regulation to control how much you can make.
Right.
So in order for that to do anything for anybody.
Well, they'll just raise taxes on people making over 100,000 or 400,000 or whatever it
Sure,
is, and they'll make it,
it's gonna
really high.
You guys ever see that movie Idiocracy from like mid early 2000s?
I didn't.
It's basically it's a comedy, but the entire population basically lives off the government.
Okay.
And it dumbs down the population where we are basically all, kindergarten level intelligence. And I'm not saying everything could ever be like that, but when we saw here through COVID, people had that unemployment check coming in. A lot of the contractors I talked to, they couldn't keep people working.
Yep.
Like, well, I'm making the guaranteed paycheck to stay home.
Yep.
So if that universal income thing comes in, how are you going to keep skilled people working for jobs where they maybe make just a little bit more than that paycheck to just hang out?
Human nature, man. Human nature. Everything looks good on paper until you put it into place, and then you see what humans are greedy and all that stuff. So.
I mean, we're not like that. We work hard to build companies, and we see why that's a good thing, to provide jobs, stimulate the economy.
Yeah.
But
what I like to say is, you never want to get bummed out about whoever's in office because, like I said, my guiding principle is happiness. So I'm not going to get all wrapped up in who's doing what or whatever. But as long as we know what the rules of the game are, we'll figure out how to win. What if it changes? We'll adjust to whatever the new rules are, and we'll play the game to the best of our ability and enjoy it.
I saw a quote the other day. I think it was Andy Frisella. The local guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of corny, but I like these. Like, the leader of the country does not lead what's in between your head.
Yeah,
between your ears. So you're right. No matter what happens, we're all going to be fine.
Yep.
We're going to keep buying houses, and can't let. It's funny though. I mean, some people I've talked to are like just totally on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Waiting for the stall to blow over. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think that's the best advice we can give anybody. Like, life's going to go on.
It is, for sure.
But
I think that's a good way to end things here.
Life
will go on.
Bryan, thanks for doing this, man.
It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Let's go play some ping pong.
All right.
We had a couple people chime in.
We got questions.
No.
Alex Helbig, he's one of the, he comes out to the Faster House Fires.
Hi, Alex.
Said, hey guys, I made it. If you ever want to take Bryan out to lunch, go to Gingham's or Prosino.
Alex and I went to Prosino a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, Alex. All right, guys, we'll end it right there. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi,
Catch you
everybody.
next time.
Take care.